My mother-in-law made her announcement between the turkey and the pumpkin pie. We were gathered around the dining table at the Morrison family estate, a sprawling colonial in Greenwich, Connecticut, that had been in the family for 5 generations. The room was full of Morrisons, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. 23 people who shared blood, history, and the unspoken understanding that I would never truly be one of them. I had been married to Christopher Morrison for 4 years. 4 years of holidays, where I was treated like a guest who had overstayed her welcome. 4 years of family gatherings, where conversations stopped when I entered the room. 4 years of his mother, Evelyn, making it clear that I was tolerated, not accepted, but I had never heard it stated quite so explicitly. "I have an announcement," Evelyn said, tapping her wine glass with a fork. The table fell silent. "I've booked a family vacation for Christmas, 2 weeks in the Swiss Alps, a chalet I've rented for years." Murmurs of excitement around the table. The Morrison family Christmas trip was legendary, exclusive, expensive, and apparently now exclusionary. "However," Evelyn continued, her eyes finding mine across the table, "this year I've decided to keep it to blood relatives only." The table went quiet. Blood relatives? Christopher's sister Margaret looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means exactly what it sounds like. Morrisons by birth, not by marriage." Evelyn smiled, that thin, triumphant smile I had come to know so well. "It's nothing personal. I just think it would be nice to have a trip with just family. Real family." Real family. The words hung in the air like a verdict. I looked around the table, at Christopher's father, Richard, who was studying his plate, at Margaret, who looked uncomfortable but said nothing, at the aunts and uncles who suddenly found their wine glasses fascinating. I looked at my husband. Christopher was nodding, not protesting, not defending me, not saying, "If my wife can't come, I'm not going," just nodding. "That sounds reasonable, Mom," he said. "It'll be nice to have some time with just the family." Just the family. 4 years of marriage, and I wasn't family. I had known it, of course, had felt it in every interaction, every holiday, every moment of exclusion. But hearing it stated so plainly and watching my husband agree was something different, something final. "Have a wonderful time," I said, my voice steady. "I'm sure it will be lovely." Evelyn looked surprised. She had expected an argument, a scene, something she could use to prove I was too emotional, too sensitive, not Morrison material. I gave her nothing. I simply excused myself from the table, helped clear the dishes, and drove home with Christopher in silence. He didn't understand what had just happened, but he would. My name is Simone Adeyemi Morrison. I am 32 years old. I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, the daughter of Nigerian immigrants who built a successful medical practice from nothing. My parents taught me many things about dignity, about self-respect, about knowing when to fight and when to walk away. They also taught me that marriage is a partnership, not a conditional membership that can be revoked at a mother-in-law's whim. Christopher had failed to understand that lesson. He was about to learn it the hard way. The 2 weeks before the trip were a performance. I played the part of the understanding wife. I helped Christopher pack. I smiled when he talked about the chalet, the skiing, the family traditions I wouldn't be part of. "You're being so good about this," he said one evening, folding sweaters into his suitcase. "It's fine, really. I'll use the time to catch up on work." Mom didn't mean anything by it. She just gets nostalgic around the holidays, wants things to be like they were when we were kids. I understand. You're not upset? I looked at my husband, the man I had loved, had believed in, had built 4 years of my life around. "I'm not upset," I lied. "Go have fun with your family." He kissed me on the forehead and went back to his packing. He had no idea that I had spent the past 2 weeks preparing for something very different. The day they left, I put my plan into motion. I had been quietly organizing for 14 days, canceling joint credit cards and opening accounts in my own name, consulting with a divorce attorney, a sharp woman named Jacqueline Chen who specialized in high net worth separations, moving money from joint accounts to protected assets, all documented and legal. I had rented an apartment across town, a beautiful 2-bedroom in a building with a doorman and a view of the city. I had been moving small items there for weeks, things Christopher wouldn't notice: my grandmother's jewelry, my personal documents, my clothes gradually thinning in the closet. Now it was time to finish the job. I hired movers, professional, discreet, efficient. By the end of the first day, my home office was empty. My clothes, my books, my art, my grandmother's china, everything that was mine and mine alone. By the end of the second day, my half of the furniture was gone. The pieces I had brought to the marriage, the things I had purchased with my own money, the items that were clearly documented as my separate property. I left everything that was Christopher's, everything that belonged to the Morrisons. I wasn't taking anything I wasn't entitled to. I was simply taking myself. Empty spaces where furniture used to be, bare walls where my art had hung, closets half full with only Christopher's clothes remaining. I walked through the rooms one last time, remembering 4 years of trying to belong, 4 years of being good about exclusion, 4 years of swallowing my dignity to keep the peace. No more. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter. Beside it, I placed the legal papers. Petition for legal separation, filed with the Connecticut Superior Court. Then I walked out and didn't look back. I changed my phone number that afternoon. Not to hide. Christopher's attorney could reach my attorney whenever necessary. But I didn't want to hear the explanations, the apologies, the attempts to minimize what had happened. I wanted silence. I wanted space. I wanted to remember who I was before I became someone who accepted being excluded from her own family. I spent the first week in my new apartment unpacking, organizing, and breathing. It sounds simple, but I hadn't realized how much I had been holding my breath. For 4 years, I had been waiting for acceptance that was never going to come, hoping that if I was good enough, patient enough, understanding enough, the Morrisons would eventually see me as family. They never would. And Christopher, my husband, my partner, my supposed defender, had never once tried to make them. He had nodded. That nod would cost him everything. They returned on a Sunday evening, 2 days before New Year's Eve. I know this because Jacqueline called me the next morning. Your husband's attorney reached out. Apparently there was quite a scene when they got home. I'm sure there was. He's requesting an emergency meeting. Says there's been a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. His mother announced I wasn't family. He agreed. I accepted their assessment and acted accordingly. That's what I told his attorney. He didn't seem to know what to say. What about the separation filing? Received and processed. Christopher has been formally served. The 30-day response period starts now. Good. Simone, are you sure about this? Divorce from a family like the Morrisons won't be easy. They have resources. They'll fight. Let them fight. I have documentation of 4 years of exclusion, financial records showing my separate contributions to the marriage, and a legal paper trail proving I did everything by the book. And if Christopher wants to reconcile? I thought about my husband, about the man who had nodded when his mother said I wasn't real family. He had 4 years to choose me. He never did. I'm done waiting. Christopher tried to contact me through every channel available. He sent emails through his attorney, which my attorney responded to professionally. He showed up at my office, which resulted in building security escorting him out. He sent letters to my parents' house, which my mother returned unopened. He even tried reaching out through mutual friends, who told him, at my request, that I wasn't interested in communication outside of legal channels. The message I received through my attorney 2 weeks after their return told me everything I needed to know. Christopher says he didn't understand how serious the situation was. He says he thought you were okay with missing the trip. He says his mother didn't mean to exclude you permanently, just for this one vacation. He's asking for a chance to explain. I dictated my response. Please inform Mr. Morrison that his mother announced, in front of 23 witnesses, that I was not real family. His response was to nod in agreement. There is nothing to explain. The separation will proceed. The next communication was different. Christopher's mother wants to speak with you. She says there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I laughed out loud when I read that. Evelyn Morrison wanted to speak with me, the woman who had spent 4 years making me feel like an outsider, the woman who had announced my exclusion at Thanksgiving dinner like she was reading a guest list. Please inform Mrs. Morrison that I have no interest in speaking with her. If she has concerns about the impact of her words and actions, she can discuss them with her son, whom she has successfully reclaimed as blood only. There were no more requests for communication after that. The divorce proceedings took 8 months. The Morrisons fought, as Jacqueline had predicted. They claimed I had abandoned the marriage. They claimed I had taken property that wasn't mine. They claimed I was emotionally unstable, the classic defense of people who can't explain their own cruelty. I had documentation for everything. Every piece of furniture I took was listed as my separate property, purchased before the marriage or with my own funds. Every financial decision I made was legal and properly recorded. Every interaction with the Morrison family was noted in journals I had kept for 4 years, including the Thanksgiving announcement, dated and detailed. The judge was not sympathetic to the Morrisons' arguments. Mr. Morrison, your mother explicitly stated that your wife was not real family. You agreed. Your wife chose to accept that assessment and act accordingly. The judge looked at Christopher with something like pity. You can't exclude someone from your family and then claim abandonment when they leave. I received a fair settlement, not everything I might have been entitled to. I didn't want Morrison money, but enough to establish my independence. The apartment I had rented was now mine, purchased with my share of marital assets. More importantly, I received my freedom. Freedom from a family that had never wanted me. Freedom from a husband who had never chosen me. Freedom from 4 years of performing acceptance I never felt. I heard about the aftermath through mutual friends. Christopher was devastated, not about losing me exactly, but about the public nature of the split. The Morrison family valued reputation above all else, and a divorce caused by Evelyn's blood-only announcement was not the image they wanted to project. Evelyn tried to spin the narrative. She told people I was unstable, that I had overreacted to a simple family tradition, that Christopher was better off without me. But the story had already spread. 23 people had been at that Thanksgiving dinner. 23 people had heard her announcement and watched Christopher nod. The Morrisons couldn't control the narrative because too many people knew the truth. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I received a letter. Not from Christopher, from Evelyn. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity, or maybe the desire for closure, made me read it. Dear Simone, I've had time to reflect on what happened. I want you to know that I never intended for things to end this way. The vacation announcement was thoughtless, and I regret the pain it caused. Christopher has not been the same since you left. He blames me, which is perhaps fair. Our family has been fractured in ways I didn't anticipate. I'm writing to ask if there's any possibility of reconciliation. Not for my sake. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but for Christopher's. He loved you. He still loves you. Please consider reaching out to him. Evelyn Morrison. I read the letter 3 times. Then I sat down and wrote my response. Dear Evelyn, thank you for your letter. I appreciate you taking the time to reflect on what happened. However, I need to correct something in your account. You wrote that Christopher loved me and still loves me. Love is not nodding when your mother excludes your wife. Love is not agreeing that your partner is not real family. Love is choosing your spouse, even when, especially when, your family pressures you not to. Christopher never chose me, not once in 4 years. He nodded along with every exclusion, every slight, every reminder that I didn't belong. You didn't destroy my marriage, Evelyn. Your announcement simply made visible what was always true. I was never Christopher's priority. I was a convenience he was willing to sacrifice to keep the peace with you. I don't blame you for that. I blame him. And I blame myself for accepting it for so long. I wish your family well. But I will not be reaching out to Christopher. I've spent 4 years trying to belong somewhere I was never wanted. I'm done. Simone Adeyemi. I mailed the letter and felt something release in my chest. Closure. Finally. My mother came to visit last month. She sat in my living room, in my apartment, in my life, and looked around approvingly. "This is beautiful, Simone." "Thank you. I've made it mine." "I can tell." She set down her tea. "I never said anything while you were married. I didn't want to interfere, but I never liked how that family treated you. I know. You deserved better. I know that now." "Do you regret marrying him?" I thought about the question. I regret staying as long as I did. I regret believing that if I just tried harder, was more patient, more understanding, they would eventually accept me. I paused. "But I don't regret leaving. That was the best decision I ever made. Your father would be proud." "I know. He always said, 'Know when to leave the table when respect is no longer being served.' He was a wise man." "He was. I just wish I had listened sooner." My mother squeezed my hand. "You listened when it mattered. That's what counts." If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you've ever had to leave a place where you were told you didn't belong. Like and subscribe for more stories about dignity, self-respect, and the power of walking away. Blood relatives only. She can't come. My mother-in-law announced it at Thanksgiving in front of the whole family. My husband nodded. I said, "Have a wonderful time." They left for 2 weeks. While they were gone, I moved all my belongings out, changed my number, filed for separation. When they returned to an empty house and legal papers on the counter, my husband called his mother crying. She wanted blood only. Now she has it, and she learned exactly what that cost.